Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vijeta, and today we shall be continuing with our modern period. So we were discussing about Rudyard Kipling and his impact on the modern period and how he set the tone for the culture, for the thought processes, for the ideology that prevailed in the modern period. And through his works, he did that. So first of all, we shall discuss about Kim, written in 1901, possibly one of the first novels of the century, of the 20th century. So it is a novel by Rudyard Kipling, and it was published serially in McClure's magazine in 1901. Earlier, mostly these novels used to be published in a serial format, and they were not published altogether. Like a lot of Charles Dickens's novels were also published in serialized format. So that is something. And even now, also, we have a lot of blogs which turn into novels and fan fictions which turn into novels that were originally written in a serial format. So that thing is not yet gone. So that is something. And the story unfolds the backdrop of the Great Game, a political conflict between Russia and Britain in Central Asia. And it is set after the Second Afghan War, which ended in 1881. So it's a political novel. And the book presents a vivid picture of India, its increasing population, religions, and superstitions. The character Kim or Kimball O'Hara, who is the protagonist, is the orphaned son of an Irish soldier and a poor Irish mother who both have died in poverty. Kim earns his living by begging and running all errands on the streets of Lahore. Now, Kim often works for Mahbub Ali, a horse trader. Kim becomes a chela, follower of an aged Tibetan Lama. Kim's trip with Lama along the Grand Trunk Road is the first great adventure in the novel. At the end of the novel, the Lama achieves enlightenment. So this is how the novel runs, full of adventure and self-actualization, something which is very evident of a modernist literature, self-actualization, going inside the self as we discussed earlier. Kim says to himself, "I'm not a sahib, I am thy chela." And it's a very famous dialogue. The river of Arrow appears in this novel. So these things you need to remember for your net. Major works of Rudyard Kipling. This is done in a chronological manner, which is quite important for your net. Life's Handicap, written in 1891. Barrack Room Ballads, 1892. It's poetry collection. My Inventions, 1893. The Jungle Book, 1895. Seven Seas, 1896. Again, poetry collection. Plain Tales from the Hills, 1888. Captain Courageous, 1897. A novel. Kim, 1901. A novel. The White Man's Burden, a very notorious poem. And it is as problematic as it may sound, and actually it is. It has been criticized a lot. The White Man's Burden, the United States and the Philippine Island, written in 1899. If, again, a good poem, it is written by Kipling. It was actually inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So now we come to Harold Pinter. Again, a very celebrated playwright and a controversial one at that. His timeline is from 1930 to 2008. Harold Pinter was a Nobel Prize winning English playwright, screenwriter, director, and actor. Pinter was born and raised in Hackney, East London. In 1956, he married Vivian Merchant but left her in 1975. Again married an author, Lady Antonia Fraser, in 1980. His career as a playwright began with the production of The Room in 1957, which is a comedy of menace. Comedy of menace, as you all know what it is, it's a comedy with some kind of a danger, some kind of a tension looming in the air. It's absurd. It's as absurd as it gets, but it's dark. It's not a light and cheery comedy. It's dark. It's ominous. There's a slight tension in the air between the characters in the setting, and you will understand once you read Harold Pinter's plays. So his second play was Birthday Party, that was closed after 8 performances, but was reviewed by the critic Harold Hobson. The early works of Pinter are described by critics as a comedy of menace applied to Pinter by the theatre critic Irving Wardle. Very important. The later plays as No Man's Land, 1975, and Betrayal, 1978, became known as memory plays. He got the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2005 and French Légion d'Honneur in 2007. He continued to act on stage and screen, and the last performing title role of Samuel Beckett's one act monologue, Crab's Last Tape, in 2006. Samuel Beckett is also one of those writers who writes very dark plays. He died from liver cancer in 2008. Pinter wrote screenplays for The French Lieutenant's Woman, the movie, uh, a very well known movie, and The Last Tycoon, and The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale, not this web series, the Hulu web series. There was a movie in 1986 based on Margaret Atwood's novel. So that is something. And Pinter's The Room is regarded as the earliest example of a comedy of menace. So yeah, he wrote screenplays, he acted, and he wrote a lot of plays, mostly comedy of menace, dark plays, which kind of reflected the London, the England of the post-war era, and it is quite evident in his contemporaries also, even Samuel Beckett and other, even John Osborne. All of these playwrights wrote plays which were dark, disturbing, and displayed the life after the war of a common Englishman of the lower middle class who were greatly suffering from post-war depression and other problems of the sort. So that is something. And now we come to the major works of Harold Pinter. The Room, 1957, it's a play. No Man's Land, play. The Birthday Party, 1957, another play. The Betrayal, another play. The Dumb Waiter, 1957, The Trial. Comedy of menace. It denotes a kind of play in which the characters feel threatened by some overpowering and frightening force, as I discussed. This fear and menace becomes a source of comedy. It was coined by Irving Wardle. The Caretaker, 1959, it was a screenplay. The Servant, it was again a screenplay for films. The Dwarfs, 1960, a play. Voices, in 2005, it was a radio play. The Homecoming, written in 1964, another play. Reunion, written in 1989. The Basement, written in 1966. Sleuth, 2007. Monologue, 1972. Now these are mostly the works of Harold. Tea Party, 1963. It was a prose fiction. Family Voices, 1980. Tess, 2000. It was a prose fiction. The New World Order, written in 1991, and it was a play. Silence, another play, written in 1969. Party Time, another play, written in 1992. Now, The Birthday Party, the play which we are talking about right now, it was written in 1957. Just after the Second World War, and it is the second full-length play of Pinter. It is a 3-act play. The performance of the play was closed only after 8 performances, but it was reviewed by Harold Hobson's review, The Screen Turns Again. Not Hodgson, it's Hobson. So it was reviewed favorably. Now, the main protagonist of the play, he lives in a rundown boarding house run by Meg and P.T. Bowles in an English seaside town, probably on the south coast, not too far from London. Now, the two sinister strangers, Goldberg and McCann, who arrive supposedly on his birthday, they are the people who kind of push the plot forward. There's a character named Lulu also. Now, O. Stanley, the protagonist, he gets a toy drum as a gift for his birthday. The innocuous birthday party of Stanley, organized by Meg, turns into a nightmare. Some events happen which do not subscribe particularly to the theme of a birthday party. A lot of things happen which turn everything upside down. If you wish to know that, you should go and read the play. And it is described as a comedy of menace by various critics. There is a depiction of Oedipus complex in this play as well. Oedipus complex, as you all know, it's feelings of romantic feelings between a mother and a child. They are basically roughly uh, what Oedipus complex refers to. It's taken from the play Oedipus Rex. So, yeah. Anywho, The French Lieutenant's Woman, 1981. Now, the screenplay of this movie was written by Harold Pinter and it appeared in 1981. It is based on the novel by John Fowles entitled The French Lieutenant's Woman, 1969, and Possession, a Romance, that was written by A.S. Bayat. And that novel, which won the 1990 Booker Prize, it was actually a response to this novel. So it can be asked as well. And now we come to The Room. It is the first play of Harold Pinter, written and produced in 1957. It is also the example of comedy of menace. It is the 20th century tragic comedy, ending with some questions unresolved. Most of these plays end on a note which feels very incomplete in some ways. And it is set in a snug, stuffy, rather down at heel bedsit with a gas fire and cooking facilities. The play opens with Rose, a character having a one-person dialogue with her husband, Bert, who remains silent throughout the whole scene. That is basically the gist of the play. Now we come to another play, which is The Homecoming, written in 1965. Actually, it was written in 64, but it was published in 1965. It is a two-act play. It won the Tony Award for Best Play in 1967 and it is set in North London. The play has 5 male characters, Max, Sam, Teddy, Lenny and Joey, and 1 female character, Ruth. Ruth is Teddy's wife and the play concerns Teddy's and Ruth's homecoming, which has distinctly different symbolic and thematic implications. Now we come to H.G. Wells, and his timeline is from 1866 to 1946. I think a lot of you know about H.G. Wells from his books like The Time Machine and other science fiction works, even The Invisible Man. So, like Herbert George Wells, his whole name was Herbert George Wells, and he is actually primarily known as H.G. Wells. So, I think we should stop here because I suppose I want to keep this lecture short. So I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will meet you all in the next video. Thank you.